welcome to another wonderful episode of Open Studio in Cape Town TV. My name is Sade Peta, and today we're going to be talking about a wonderful book called A Passionate Vision and a story of Irma Stern. And I'd like to welcome our wonderful guests. Hello, ladies.
Hi.
Hello.
Would you please be so kind as to introduce yourself to our viewers, please?
Yes, I'm Susan Keegan. I'm the director of the Vine School in Lansdowne. It's an Ambleside school and it's a primary school.
And I'm Catherine Graham. I'm a children's author.
Now, what I would like to know is, how does an author and a teacher from a different school come together to come in to make this book?
That's quite a story.
Yeah, it is a story.
Maybe to start with talking about our school. The Vine School is a school, it's a primary school, as I said, it's an Ambleside school, and we follow a different kind of curriculum that is very inspirational. And it depends on inspirational books about inspiring people.
Okay.
And it's an international curriculum, and we were encouraged to not just look at inspirational people from overseas, but to use our own South African icons. And the only problem was, being a primary school, we needed to get good books about South African artists, painters, etc. And we would like to use our South African artists to do picture study and that sort of thing. And we just couldn't find any books written for children with sufficient story about them. So couldn't find any.
Until you met this wonderful woman.
I got this cryptic email from Susan saying, I wish I had more time on my hands. I wish I could write more biographies. And I was like, oh, I wonder why Susan's writing biographies. And then she said, there's this project, I've been meaning to do it, but I think I'll never get to it. I'll only get to it when I'm like 90 years old or something. So she said, why don't you write it? Because you're a children's author. So I said, I'd love to do it. And so I got handed the task of writing the book and researching it, and but Susan was always there for moral support when I had little breakdowns along the way.
I can imagine. So clearly, in any way, this was fate, basically,
Definitely.
with what your school
I
needed
think so.
and what she needed to actually find out for herself.
Yes.
So the book is about, as it says, Irma Stern. Can you
Yes.
guys tell us about her?
Sure. Well, I'll speak a bit about her. So Irma Stern, she had German Jewish parents, and she was born in a little town called Schweizer Reneke, and it was the turn of the century in South Africa, which is now I think the Northwest Province, although at the time was the Transvaal. So she was born just before the Anglo-Boer War. So she lived through 3 wars: the Anglo-Boer War, World War I, World War II, and she's very much a citizen of Europe and South Africa because her parents used to move a lot between the two, but especially between Germany and...
She was quite a traveller.
She was, she was.
Yeah.
And I think, and the way I start the book is they used to go riding as a family. This is before she even travelled. They used to go riding as a family on their horses Saturday morning on, dusty Karoo, and then they would get to the top of the hill and her mom would say to her, Irma kind, Irma child, where do you want to go today? London, Paris, Einbeck, or where? And so even at the age of 7, she was thinking, I can go anywhere in the world. I can be anything. I can do anything. Her mom was just saying, where do you want to go?
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. So I think already she'd set her sights on more than just the playing with the little chochas in the dust, because it was really the back of Beyond's where she grew up.
And for you, how was this book in terms of having read it and how it actually emulated what you were looking for your school?
I think it really does meet what we wanted. I wanted a book that was inspiring. We wanted a book that was well written, and one that told enough of the story about Irma, because that's what we need when we introduce the children to an artist. They need to be inspired by the artist, and we use good literature. So it had all of those things. It also is well illustrated, so they're not just reading about an artist and don't have a chance to see the actual paintings that she produced. And it was short enough, it's affordable enough. Those were all the different things we were looking for. And we worked together on the book. That Catherine did the writing, and then she'd submit a chapter, and I would read it and come back to her and say, yes, you're on the right track. But I certainly didn't write it. But we had to obviously collaborate on what we were trying to achieve. And we wanted it written, pitched at a sort of 10, 11, 12-year-old audience, because we're going to use it in grade 5. But I believe that a book written for children must be really enjoyable to an adult, otherwise you shouldn't give it to the child if you don't enjoy reading it
I
yourself.
can fully understand that.
Yeah, so I enjoyed it, and that's a big tick.
So this book is already introduced in the educational system, or are you guys still implementing it to actually introduce it to those children of that age?
Still working on a sequence we're planning to use it next semester. So we study one artist for a whole semester.
Okay.
They get to really know the artist, know her work. They'll reproduce the work. We're trying to form a bond between the child and a great musician, painter, creator, because that's what's inspirational.
And for you, Catherine, what do you think?
Yeah, I think, as Susan said, it was intended for children, but what we found, often this happens, is that books take on a life of their own. And a lot of adults have read this and they haven't even picked up that we were pitching it at children. They just really love it, and they found it really easy and accessible.
Okay.
And it's being sold at the Irma Stern Museum in Rosebank. And yeah, it's apparently their top seller at the moment.
And I do see that it's very colourful, so very appealing to the young age as well.
Yes.
No, I fully understand on that.
Yeah.
I'd like us to take a quick ad break and be right back after this. Welcome back to Open Studio. My name is Sade Petter, and we're talking more about our book, The Passionate Vision, A Story of Irma Stern. Now, Catherine, before our the commercial, rather, we were talking about how the book was appealing to our children. Now, we have a lot of South African icons. How does this book, in terms of that market, appeal to those children? Is there, like, as a South African icon of a book?
Yeah, look, I think Irma Stern is arguably the most famous of South African artists. Her paintings sell for millions today. You'd be very lucky if you had one. In fact, there was a crazy person in London who was using one of her paintings as a notice board, can you believe it? Pinning his bills onto this painting until someone came and valued the painting and said, you do know that's an Irma Stern. So I think, the lesson that I learned from looking at her life, and I'm sure children will pick this up as well, is that she persevered. It took her 10 years before she became established as an artist. During that 10 years, she hardly sold any paintings. Her work was vilified by the art critics. So she had enough courage and belief in herself to push through all that rejection and get to a point where she was established. So I think that is the big lesson for me, and I'm hoping children will also draw from that life lesson, is that you have to persevere and you have to really believe in what it is that you feel God has called you to do.
The one thing that I do know people probably don't realize is that she is, as you said, she's an artist as well. And the first time she came out with exhibition was in Germany. How was that? How does that, her artistry, how does that appeal to the book itself? Is there any mention of that, or how do the two correspond?
Yeah, so she had lots of exhibitions. I think it was about 100 exhibitions in a lifetime. So she was never afraid to promote herself, another lesson for an artist. Her first exhibition was in Germany, and that was when she was still experimenting with her style as an expressionist artist. So she was testing out her wings, so to speak, because the way she was trained was very more in the realism style and post-impressionism, and then Max Pechstein was her mentor. He was an expressionist. But she didn't really have the first-hand experience of Africa that she yearned for. So when she came out to Cape Town in 1920, she got to experience Africa more, and that really excited her, because she didn't just want to remember what it was like growing up in South Africa. She wanted to actually go and see people and experience them firsthand. And she went to some crazy places that, single white women that were just not encouraged to go to. She went to all the homeland. She would camp out at the trading store. She would draw people. She would go up to Congo on her own, and saw all the dances that they did and visited the royal family, the Watusi royal family. So she was very daring. She was a pioneer for her time. And as you said, her first exhibitions in South Africa weren't well received, but by about 1936, she had achieved a measure of fame.
And for you, how was it for, how can I say, Irma as an artist, how did she appeal to you in terms of you having said that you were actually drawn by the book? What's your
I had read a
thought
little
on
bit
it?
about Irma Stern before that, and
And
so
art.
again it was her life story, which is really interesting. I love biographies. I love getting to know people through biography, which is also why I wanted to write biographies.
Yeah.
Too busy running the school. So, so Catherine did more research, and she'd
Yeah.
read more widely about Irma Stern, and she condenses this into the book. So you really do get a sense of getting to know Irma through the book, and I appreciated that. And then I was very ashamed to say that I'd never been to the Irma Stern Museum. One of the reasons why we chose Irma Stern was this book was, it came out of a dream, but it was also very much, we want to do this for our kids at our school.
Of course, yes.
And so we chose Irma not just because she's one of the greatest artists, but because the Irma Stern museum is very close. So we could actually take the children there to see her work and see where she lived. And when we took our classes we actually organised like a little book launch with a number of the schools in the southern suburbs, and went there, and that was the first time I'd ever been there. And we did a picture study with the kids, and it was just amazing when you present great art to children and you just invite them to look. It was just amazing. They responded amazingly, and I really appreciated seeing her art. So being there, it's just made me kind of, it's formed that bond. I now feel like I know her.
Yeah.
I don't really know her, but I know a lot
But that's how
of
the
what
book
she's
speaks to you.
expressed.
Yes,
And her
yes.
art is powerful. And her appreciation for people just comes through the painting. So it is inspiring. It's
So now, do
lovely.
you think that based on your educational, you in education rather, do you think that this book has encouraged these young students to actually read more and be more interested in it, not only in the art side, but also just in the storyline?
It wasn't really written to encourage children to read. At our school, our kids love reading anyway because we read inspirational books. So to my mind, if a book is inspiring, if it's accessible, if it tells a great story, and children enjoy that experience, they're going to want to read more anyway. So it was written to tell about Irma Stern, and it was written for our kids, but I think it is going to encourage people to read.
And what do you hope for it?
Yeah, I think, as I said, that it's taken on a life of its own, and that's what I always like. It's like having a baby, and they just kind of grow up and go off into the world, I had a Jewish lady phone me, and she said, I really want this book to go to Canada to one of my friends, and then she emailed me to say her friend was lying in a hammock reading my book in Canada. So,
Wow.
I'm
sure that was incredible.
Yeah, it's wonderful that people, their connections, people feel connected to her either because they're Jewish or because they appreciate art or because they love Africa. So there are lots of different ways that you can access this book.
Sorry to quickly cut you there, ladies. We're going to have to take another quick break, and we'll be right back after this. Welcome back to Open Studio. I'm Sade Peter, and we're continuing our talk about a wonderful book, The Passion Vision, a story of Irma Stern. Now, ladies, we had so much to say right before the ad break regarding the educational background or the educational significance of the book as well. I would like to actually focus on the artists themselves. We are aware that we did mention before that she's got over 100 solo exhibitions of these. Where can a person actually find the exhibition of her art? This is now Irma Stern.
Yes. Well, I think, as Susan said, the best place to experience her art is at the Irma Stern Museum. And we managed to form great relationships with the people behind the Irma Stern Museum, Christopher Peter and Mary van Blomenstein. And schools are welcome to go there for visits.
They're near UCT in Rosebank.
Yes.
It's very close.
Very close. And what's nice is that she was a great antique collector. So there, when you go into the house, it's exactly as it was when she passed away. All the furniture and the dining room table, and you can see that she painted doorknobs. I mean, she was just everything that, any little scrap of free space she was filling up with her little paintings. And so you really get a sense of her personality shining through that house. But I think also for me, the wall of portraits, when you walk in her house, there's a wall of portraits. It really almost strikes you how insightful she was to see the soul of the person that she was painting.
So from your response, I can take that you've seen the exhibition face to face.
Yes.
And what about you, Susan? How was it for you? Have you had the grace of actually going to see the museum?
Yes, I did.
And how was it for you?
It's a place I'll definitely go back to. You can't take it all in one go.
Yeah.
The portraits are amazing. Her studio is fascinating.
Yes.
Her collection, particularly of African artwork and sculpture, is also very interesting. So it's a place you want to go back to again and again.
Make me feel like I want to go now.
Yes, you do.
I travel plans to Germany.
If you go on a Wednesday morning, it's free because it's a museum.
Oh,
lovely,
I
lovely.
didn't know that, okay.
So that's how it basically felt for you, basically being there. So definitely going about 2 or 3 times.
Definitely, definitely. It's a place to go back to.
Yeah,
And
that's
to
good.
take friends to.
Yes.
Now, ladies, not to take us away from Irma Stern, much love for her art, I would like to assume that there will be another book that you ladies might probably be on the pipelines and doing or
Yes.
introducing to us.
Yes.
Can you just give us a short stint on what that book will be of?
Sure. We're hoping to do Peter Clark next.
Okay.
He's a true son of Cape Town. He grew up under apartheid. He was forcibly removed from Simonstown and dumped in Ocean View. And the obstacles that he had to face as an artist were even greater than that of Irma Stern because she had the benefit of wealthy parents to support her, but he didn't.
That's why she travelled a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, plus he had the skin colour disadvantage. And his artwork is very different from hers. So it's a different expression of the talent that he was given. And I'm hoping it'll encourage kids of colour at the school to not see their identity as a disadvantage, but to make the most of it and make their voice count in their community.
So was this
Again, the other interesting thing is he went to school at Livingston High, which is just down the road from our school.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
Okay.
we are planning either to launch the book there, but at the very least we're going to speak to that headmaster and say we want our kids to come down and visit the school. There is a Peter Clark painting in their foyer.
Oh, nice.
And again, it's local. They can go, we can organise an outing to Simonstown, they can go and see where he lived and go to Ocean View. It's experiential as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And his art, is it also, did we mention if his art is available for people to view, or is it just the book that will be available?
That's a good question.
That we're not sure
I'm
of.
not quite sure. I mean, we were very fortunate in this book. I say fortunate, but that she'd passed away 50 years ago. So
Yeah.
all the artwork we could use without copyright,
Okay.
which is a huge blessing. With Peter Clark, that isn't the case, so that's going to be another...
Bit of an obstacle.
Yes,
to
exactly.
actually-
Yeah.
But one I'm sure you ladies will
Yeah.
truly overcome.
Thank
And then
you.
after that we're thinking of doing Gerard Sokoto, also a fascinating artist. So, and there is a new foundation, the Norval Foundation, which has the Gerard Sokoto collection, and they're at the bottom of Oakapseweg. So all
Yes.
So you-
close by and
You
accessible
ladies are
to
just
us.
art fanatics. That's all.
No, we're not. I mean, get me started on other South African icons. But we've started with art. We started with painters. We want to also do musicians. We want to do poets. We want to do just great South African scientists and
No, what you ladies are doing is quite beautiful. On the second book that you guys were talking about, is that also a collaboration on both of you, or is that primarily on you, Catherine?
Yes, it will be.
Oh, okay. So
look,
also
collaboration is a bit it's elevating it. I need to tell you what also happened. This book only was possible because somebody gave our school a donation,
Oh, really?
a substantial donation, and without any strings attached. And when we received it, it could have gone into the educational fund, and I thought, no, let's take this and do something different. And so that was the funding that we required to do this first book. When the book was finished, I sent a copy to the lady who had given the gift, and I said, this is the result of your gift, and we're going to try and make the money back that you gave us so we can do something else. She gave us another gift.
So
So that is going to be
cut you
for
off
the...
a little bit. Just want to quickly ask our wonderful viewers, where can they go to actually get this wonderful book?
The easiest thing to do is go to the Irma Stern Museum. It's 150 Rand. It's also available at the Norval Gallery in Constantia, or they can buy it from the school directly, the Vine School in Lansdowne.
Okay.
Yeah, or it's on Amazon as well.
But
so
Amazon.
an
I
ebook.
was about to say, I think I saw it on Amazon.
Yes,
so.
exactly.
No, that's very beautiful,
Yeah.
ladies. Unfortunately, it has come to the end of our show. Thank you so much, ladies, for actually joining us. And our wonderful viewers, as you have heard of the wonderful art that we spoke of today. My name is Sade Peter. This is Open Studio, and we'll catch you next time.